Hello gamers from around the world, this is Archimedes, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with another game celebrating video. Alright, it's T-5 weeks guys, I repeat, T-5 weeks until we get to play on the next gen Xbox consoles, either the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Series S, depending for which model you went. And over the last few days we have seen many hands-ons from different influencers all over YouTube and social media. And like I predicted in my previous video, we didn't get to see new games running on the consoles, but that does not take away from the excitement, cause the influencers were able to demonstrate the fantastic back compatibility of the Xbox Series X. And yeah, all games that run today on your Xbox One, except the Kinect games, including all the playable Xbox 360 and OG Xbox games, will look and run better than ever before. And the overall perception from media outlets and influencers was positive through and through. But this is not a summary video for the hands-on impressions. As much as I'm loving the backcompat feature, I want to use this video to discuss with you the new games coming to the Xbox Series family of consoles at launch. Yeah, not all of the launch games will be exclusives, but with Microsoft acquiring ZeniMax, they have 23 studios now developing games for the Xbox ecosystem. Most of these studios have multiple teams working on different projects. That means that right now there are in between 35 to 40 games in the making for the Xbox ecosystem. And considering a 3 to 5 year development time for a game, that means that in the future we will get something like 6 to 10 games per year coming from the Xbox Game Studios. Let that sink in for a second. Well, and on November 10th, this new era of Xbox console gaming will start. It was planned that Halo Infinite was the big flagship title at launch, but we all know that this game got delayed to get more polish. And after this video, I bet you will agree with me that this is not a big deal, cause we won't have the time to play all the fantastic games coming out anyway. And in this video, I will break down which games will be there on day one with the Xbox Series X and S. I will also include games that are released adjacent to the consoles, meaning plus minus 2 weeks or so to the Xbox launch. And I will definitely forget a couple of games in my list, but that's what you and the comment sections are here for, so let me know when I forgot to mention a game. But before we go through all of that, I want to ask you for a favor. I put a lot of work into my videos and I try to grow my channel, so if you think you are enjoying what you see, then please consider to hit the like button. If you do want to support the channel even further, you can hit the subscribe button, and if you do not want to miss out on any future content, then hit the little notification bell. All of this does not cost you anything and is completely anonymous by the way, but it helps me more than you think. And if you know someone who would enjoy this kind of content, please feel free to share it out. I really do appreciate all the support. And now let's talk about the Xbox Series launch lineup. Now let's start with the game that I will probably boot up as the first game on the Xbox Series X on November 10th, and that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. After the, in my opinion, incredible AC Odyssey, I couldn't be more excited to play this one. I love the Northern mythology, and so the setting of this game has me intrigued. I know that the new approach of the Assassin's Creed games is controversial, but I love the open world and RPG approach, and playing in this one as the Viking Eivor and raiding England is going to be a blast. And of course it will be a drop-dead gorgeous game too, and it will run at 60 FPS, so this game is what console gamers can now expect going forward. Open world games that do not just look amazing but will also feel really great to play thanks to the extra frame rates. Next up is Gears Tactics, a Gears of War spin-off game. It is a real-time strategy game with a deep story in the Gears universe. I really applaud Microsoft for bringing RTS games back to consoles, cause if they are done right, like for instance Halo Wars 1 and 2 were, they are a blast to play on consoles. And since Gears Tactics is already out on PC, we know that the game itself is great, and I can't wait to see how the console version will hold up. The next game is Cyberpunk 2077. Technically it's not a launch game cause it will come out 9 days after the Xbox Series consoles on November 19th. Nevertheless, I'll include it here cause it is my most anticipated game this year. The developer CD Projekt Red has made my personal game of this generation with The Witcher 3, and for them to release an even more ambitious RPG set in a cyberpunk universe just has me excited. The game will consume easily 200 or more hours of my time, and my only complaint is that the Xbox Series X enhancement patch adding Raytracing and whatnot won't be there at the release of the game. Nonetheless, it will still look gorgeous on the Series X, and I can't wait for this one. Next up is Watchdog Legions, another game that is technically not a launch game because it will release 12 days before the consoles come out on October 29th. It'll be an open world action adventure set in London with the focus on hacking mechanics, action and stealth. Since I really enjoyed the first games, I can't wait to play this one. Oh, and by the way, it will feature ray tracing on the next gen consoles, so you can expect a looker with this one. Dirt 5 covers the racing game fans. It's not a hardcore racing simulation, more like an arcade racer, but it's going to be a lot of fun cause the driving mechanics in the previous games were very solid. And this one will also feature a 120 frames per second mode, so if your TV supports it, you can run this game at this extremely high frame rate. Next up is The Medium. Well, I wasn't sure if I should include this one here cause we do not have an actual release date yet, but the game is set to be released this year and was heavily marketed with the console, so it can't be that far away from the console launch. But this horror thriller slash puzzle slash action game is very interesting. It is one of the very rare games in this list that will only run on next gen consoles, cause it has a gameplay mechanic that can only be realized with the SSD. In this game you can instantly switch in between two worlds, which therefore are at all times rendered both simultaneously. Very cool technique, and the atmosphere is very dense. I always get Stranger Things vibes when I see it. Another game we can consider a launch title is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Well, it comes out only 3 days after the console on November 13th. And you know, Call of Duty is released like a clockwork every year. And I might not be the biggest fan of the multiplayer, but I usually do enjoy the campaigns, even though they are always a bit short. I wish they would sell those campaigns as standalone versions, but that is probably never going to happen. Then we have a game called The Ascent. It is a beautiful looking game, think Diablo meets a Cyberpunk setting. It might not be the biggest release this year, but from all we have seen it looks fantastic. With an isometric view on the action and a lot of loot in this game, it will be a blast for Diablo fans to get their loot and grind fixed. Can't wait to play it, and I have the feeling this might be a sleeper hit. Next up is Destiny 2. Wait, wasn't that game released 3 years ago in 2017? Yes it was, but there is a major add-on slash DLC coming called Beyond Light, and it'll be available day 1 in Game Pass with the launch of the new Xbox consoles. And you can say about Destiny what you want. The shooting mechanics are top notch and it is a fun co-op and grinding game. I'm not the most extensive Destiny player, but whenever they drop a new DLC I jump back in, play the respective story and level my Guardian to a certain light level before I wait for the next add-on. And this new DLC called Beyond Light is a very ambitious one and I can't wait to play it. Oh, and by the way, it will run at 60 FPS on the new hardware. Let's talk about The Falconeer, a great looking indie game that will be there at launch. I always get Lilith Wars meets Crimson Skies vibes when I see it, but whatever you associate with it, we have to agree there are not many games in the genre out there and this one looks absolutely fun to play. Then there is a little game called Yakuza Like a Dragon. Well, actually it's not so little. I know that this Japanese game being there at launch for the Xbox is a big deal. The Yakuza games are not for me, but I know so many gamers that do appreciate them and I'm truly happy that they get to experience the games first hand. In Game Pass, by the way. Next up is Bright Memory. Now this is a bit complicated. This is not the shooter they announced in May 2020, which is called Bright Memory Infinite. The Infinite version of the game will be the full version of the game with all the bells and whistles from next gen. And Bright Memory is the original game that was released on Steam in January 2019. Looks like a fun game that I will definitely check out, and next year we will get the full Infinite version of it. Okay, the next games I want to mention had me wondered if I should include them in this list for different reasons, and the first one of this kind is Outriders. This is a single player slash co-op action RPG that is not a games as a service game. It looks absolutely fun and awesome to play, and it is easily one of my most anticipated games, but we do not have the release date yet. It is set to release in late 2020, whatever that means. In one of my recent videos I speculated if Microsoft would acquire this game as a day 1 launch title in Game Pass, but this is just a speculation from me. But if it comes out late 2020, it will be close to the launch of the Xbox consoles. Then we have Crossfire X, a multiplayer shooter from a Korean developer called Smilegate. It is set for a release in 2020 with no more specifics, but the interesting part here is that Remedy, makers of games like Alan Wake and Control, will craft a single player campaign for this game, and we do all know Remedy knows how to do great single player games. This has me really excited, but I do have the feeling that this game might be pushed to 2021. But at the point of this recording it's still scheduled to release this year, and I mean look at it, it looks amazing. And the last game I want to mention here is Immortals Fenix Rising. I don't know if you could call this still a launch game, cause it will come out 3 weeks after the consoles on December 3rd, but it most certainly is an interesting looking game set in ancient Greece mythology. It's an open world action adventure with RPG elements, and it has been described as an Assassin's Creed meets Breath of the Wild, and I can't wait to check this one out. Alright, as you can see, the lineup around the launch is packed with a ton of games, and I left a bunch out cause it would blow the video up, but I will give honorable mention to some of the games that I had to cut, like Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, Scorn, Tetris Effect, 12 Minutes, The Artful Escape, Tunic, Call of the Sea, Observer System Redux and many more. Well, and we have still 5 weeks left leading up to the console launch, and I bet both Sony and Microsoft are not fully done with the announcements. Maybe we will get a release date for Flight Sim or a surprise announcement coming from the newly acquired ZeniMax Studios. If you want to learn more about what announcements we can expect from Microsoft in October, I recommend my respective video, the link is in the description below. And even if we do not get any more new games at launch, you see that the lineup is already packed, and I can't wait to finally play games on my new Xbox Series X. And if you do not have the next gen consoles at launch, do not worry, all your Xbox One games and your save files, etc. simply come with you on the new consoles whenever you make the switch. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and consider sharing this out to other gamers. I would greatly appreciate it. And let me know in the comments below, which games are you looking forward to the most? What game will you be booting up first on your next gen console? And did I forget a game in this video? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!